Imagine a country where selling alcohol is banned 1 day a week, smoking in public can land you in jail, and there isn't a single traffic light in the capital. A place where monks practice archery as a spiritual ritual, and house facades are protected by phallic symbols painted on the walls. This is Bhutan, a hidden kingdom nestled among the Himalayan peaks that has chosen a completely different path from the rest of the world. Here, progress is measured by happiness, not money. Here, nature, religion, and tradition shape the lives of people who have chosen not to surrender to the chaos of modernity. But what lies behind this almost mystical image? How do the Bhutanese really live? And why does the country keep its doors only half open to the world, even in the 21st century? In this episode of the 360 Degrees series, you'll dive with us into every angle of Bhutan, its extreme geography, a history marked by isolation and internal struggles, a culture where faith and symbolism blend in unique ways, an economy based on clean energy and even cryptocurrency mining, and of course, its almost magical architecture and cuisine with ancestral flavors. Get ready for a journey that challenges conventional ideas of development and makes us wonder, can isolation, in some cases, actually be a form of wisdom? Welcome to Bhutan, the most closed-off country in the world. At the foot of the mighty Himalayas lies Bhutan, a small landlocked kingdom in South Asia, squeezed between China to the north and India to the south. Covering about 38,000 square kilometers, 15,000 square miles. This rugged land of steep mountains is bordered by over 1,000 kilometers, 620 miles, of deep valleys and eternally snow-covered peaks. Here, altitude sets the rhythm of life. The south features tropical forests, rushing rivers, and a humid climate. The central region, where most of the population lives, stands at an average elevation of 2,000 meters, 3,300 feet, with mild summers and cold winters, while the north is ruled by glaciers and snowstorms with unforgiving temperatures. The highest point is Gangkhar Puensum, standing at a staggering 7,570 meters, 24,800 feet, considered the highest unclimbed peak in the world. Its glacial silence echoes the mystique of the unknown, reminding us that Bhutan guards secrets that time cannot erase. Aside from the giant Gangkhar Puensum, the country is also home to Paro International Airport, known as one of the most dangerous in the world. Located at 2,235 meters, 7,330 feet, in a narrow valley surrounded by mountains up to 5,500 meters, 18,000 feet high. It requires pilots to perform a complex visual approach, without radar, maneuvering between stone towers until the runway appears at the last moment. For this reason, fewer than 50 pilots worldwide are certified to land there. But Bhutan's true green heart beats within its forests. About 70% of the country is covered in native vegetation, and the constitution mandates that at least 60% of the land must remain untouched, a legal measure that ensures the protection of its ecosystems. This abundance creates a haven for biodiversity. Over 5,600 species of plants thrive in the country, with around 94% being native and 144 found nowhere else on Earth. Rhododendrons, orchids, giant ferns, and the legendary blue poppy, the national flower, paint the hillsides with a natural spectacle that changes with the seasons. The wildlife is equally astounding. Around 200 species of mammals and more than 770 species of birds inhabit various altitudes. In the southern valleys, tigers, rhinos, sloth bears, and the rare golden langur, a golden monkey found only in this region can still be spotted. In the higher mountains roam snow leopards, red pandas, blue sheep, and the takin, the national animal, with a nearly mythical appearance. Recent sightings have even recorded tigers at over 4,000 meters, 13,000 feet of elevation, a feat that amazes scientists and highlights the extraordinary resilience of Bhutan's wildlife. All of this is protected by one of the most well-structured conservation networks on the planet. Over 40% of Bhutan's territory is covered by national parks, reserves, and ecological corridors that ensure animals can migrate freely. This is Bhutan, a kingdom where nature is not just a backdrop, but a sacred spirit that lives within the land. The origins of Bhutan are shrouded in historical mist. Archaeological traces suggest human presence dating back to around 2000 BCE, but more defined records begin to appear in the 7th century, with the construction of temples like Kichu and Jambe in the Paro Valley. These monuments mark the beginning of Buddhist influence from Tibet, which would shape the country's spiritual core. In the 8th century, one of the most revered figures in Bhutanese history arrived, Padmasambhava, also known as Guru Rinpoche. He consolidated Vajrayana Buddhism and established sanctuaries that are still considered sacred today. The most iconic is the Takchung Monastery, or Tiger's Nest, perched on a cliff over 3,000 meters, 9,800 feet above sea level. For centuries afterward, the territory remained fragmented, ruled by feudal lords called penlops. It wasn't until the 17th century that Bhutan underwent a true unification, led by Zhabdrung Ngawang Namgyal, a lama exiled from Tibet. He not only repelled invaders and centralized power, but also established a dual system of governance, civil and religious, and built the first Dzongs, fortresses that combine administration, spirituality, and military defense. Zhabdrung's death in 1651 was kept secret for over 50 years to maintain political stability. Still, the country plunged into centuries of internal strife and occasional conflict with neighboring powers. In the 19th century, Bhutan faced British expansion in South Asia. After the Duar Wars, it signed the Treaty of Sinchala in 1865, ceding territory in exchange for annual subsidies. This marked the start of a strategic relationship with British India, later passed on to independent India in 1947. In 1907, Ugyen Wangchuck, the Penlop of Trongsa, was crowned as Bhutan's first hereditary king, ending the dual government system. The Wangchuck dynasty was established, bringing stability after centuries of division. In the years that followed, treaties with the United Kingdom and then with India helped consolidate Bhutanese sovereignty, albeit with external diplomatic guidance. Under the rule of Jigme Wangchuck, and especially Jigme Dorji Wangchuck in the 1950s, Bhutan began a period of controlled modernization. Practices like servitude were abolished, and schools, hospitals, and courts were established. The National Assembly was founded, the first step toward institutionalizing civil governance. By the late 20th century, King Jigme Singye Wangchuck became known for introducing the concept of gross national happiness and initiating the political transition that would culminate in 2008 with a new constitution and the country's first parliamentary elections. Bhutan officially became a constitutional monarchy with a representative democracy. This journey, from isolated kingdoms to a democracy high in the Himalayas, has shaped not only Bhutan's institutions, but also the collective soul of its people. Up next, we'll dive into how this living history reveals itself in the traditions, customs, and everyday life of those who call this unique kingdom home. Bhutanese culture is a living tapestry where spirituality, communal rituals, and traditional values intertwine in a truly unique way. More than just a religion, Vajrayana Buddhism shapes not only faith, but also daily life, public behavior, clothing, laws, and even sports. In the mountains, faith isn't abstract, it's a daily act. One clear example is the vibrant archery competitions, Bhutan's national sport. Known locally as DA, it's far more than a pastime. It's an event filled with symbolism, tradition, and social energy. The targets are placed more than 140 meters, 460 feet, away, nearly twice the Olympic distance. And every successful shot is celebrated with dances, songs, and good-humored teasing among the players. More than aim, it's about community honor. There are even beliefs tied to it, such as avoiding sleeping with one's wife the night before and consulting astrologers ahead of a match. It's a ritual that's both festive and mystical, blending past and present through precise movements and intense celebrations. This same merging of the sacred and everyday can be seen on the facades of many houses, especially in rural areas. There, oversized male genitalia are painted on the walls, sometimes with eyes, wings, and colorful ribbons. Far from vulgar, these images are rooted in the teachings of the eccentric Saint Drukpa Kunli, the divine madman who in the 15th century used sexuality as a spiritual tool. These images are considered protective talismans, meant to ward off evil spirits, gossip, and negative energy. In many homes, in addition to the paintings, a wooden phallus is placed on the roof as a symbol of fertility and blessing. While it may seem strange to outsiders, for Bhutanese people, it's sacred tradition. The social structure also reflects this deep sense of spiritual order. The cultural code, known as Draglam Namja, defines rules for behavior, dress, and hierarchical respect. Men wear the go, women wear the kira, both adorned with sashes called kabni or rachu, whose colors indicate social status. Wearing traditional dress is mandatory in public events, schools, and government offices. Visiting a temple requires silence, bare feet, and moving clockwise, all part of an ethos of reverence. This sense of respect extends to the streets. Thimphu, the capital, is one of the only cities in the world without traffic lights. An attempt to install them was abandoned, and today, traffic is guided by police officers wearing white gloves, who use almost choreographed movements to direct vehicles and pedestrians. The choice reflects an aesthetic and cultural decision, valuing the human presence in urban life. Festivals also demonstrate the strength of tradition. Chekus, religious festivals held throughout the country, are celebrated with masked dances that tell Buddhist legends, offering spiritual protection and reinforcing social bonds. One of the most iconic is Drumetsa Ngacham, recognized by UNESCO, where monks dance to drums and horns in colorful costumes, evoking protective forces and compassionate deities. This collective respect also appears in the laws. Smoking in public is prohibited, and alcohol sales are suspended one day a week, usually Tuesdays, as a way to promote balance and reflection. Order is valued, but never at the expense of human warmth. Spiritually and environmentally, care is taken to another level. Animals such as the black-necked crane are considered sacred messengers. When these migratory birds arrive in the valleys, entire communities celebrate their presence. Killing one is not only an environmental crime, but can result in life imprisonment, a direct reflection of the country's fusion of faith and law. In more remote areas, customs like bamina, or night hunting, still survive. This ancient courtship practice involves young men discreetly visiting young women's homes during the night. Though controversial and in decline, It remains part of the country's complex social fabric, revealing the nuances of a culture that preserves its past even under modern scrutiny. To live in Bhutan is to take part in a world where tradition, spirituality, and community are inseparable. Nothing there is just folklore. Everything has meaning, origin, and purpose. It's a way of life that not only endures over time, but transforms time itself into ritual. Since becoming a constitutional monarchy in 2008, Bhutan has balanced tradition and modernization through its philosophy of gross national happiness. Enshrined in the Constitution, this metric is based on 4 key pillars: sustainable socio-economic development, environmental preservation, cultural promotion, and good governance. Having graduated from the least developed country category in December 2023, Bhutan now aims to strengthen its economy and institutional stability. The economy is powered by the country's abundant natural resources. With over 70% of its territory covered in forests, Bhutan is globally recognized for its negative carbon footprint. Powerful hydropower plants, such as Chuka, Kurichu, Basochu, Tala, and Mangdechu, use the mountainous terrain to generate clean energy. 1/3 of this electricity is exported to India, generating substantial revenue and helping subsidize public services like education and healthcare. In March 2025, Bhutan began construction of the Seifu Solar Power Plant, a 22-megawatt solar facility that will expand the energy mix and reduce hydropower dependency. The government is also promoting wind energy, biogas, and off-grid energy initiatives for remote areas, with the goal of reaching 20 megawatts of renewable energy by the end of 2025. To diversify the economy beyond energy and tourism, the country is betting on a green digital economy. In April of this year, Bhutan began mining green cryptocurrencies using renewable hydropower. This strategy not only funds public sector wages, but also seeks to combat youth emigration, with around 10% of young Bhutanese seeking opportunities abroad, and already holds over $600 million in Bitcoin assets, equivalent to around 25% of the country's GDP. Bhutan operates under a bicameral parliamentary system, consisting of a National Assembly and a National Council. While it is a constitutional monarchy, King Jigme Kesar Namgyel Wangchuck, known as the Druk Gyalpo, still plays a significant role in national affairs and is a highly respected figure who actively participates in major decisions. Political parties like the People's Democratic Party and Druk Nyamrup Chogpa alternate in power, reflecting contemporary challenges such as youth unemployment, urban pressure, and a public debate about the balance between freedom and tradition. In an ambitious move, the government launched the Galefu Mindfulness City project, a conscious, low-carbon city with strict environmental regulations and a focus on green technologies, education, healthcare, and sustainable finance. The initiative aims to retain local talent, attract foreign investment, and strengthen an inclusive economy, though it also faces challenges like potential population displacement and geopolitical tensions. Tourism, though hit by the pandemic, remains a key economic driver. With a high daily visitor fee used to protect the environment and support infrastructure, Bhutan maintains a low-volume, high-value tourism model, in line with the principles of gross national happiness. This overview shows how Bhutan seeks to innovate without losing its spiritual and environmental essence, confronting the modern world with bold, pioneering ideas. The country's natural and architectural grandeur reflects its resilient and spiritual soul. Suspended between Himalayan valleys and peaks, Bhutan's landscape showcases unique geological and ecological treasures. A vibrant example is the Phobjika Valley, located at about 3,000 meters, 9,800 feet of elevation. Its wet meadows are recognized by UNESCO as a Ramsar site. Every year, the graceful black-necked crane arrives here, circling the Gangteng Monastery 3 times before settling in the lagoons. A mystical site that gave birth to the famous Black-Necked Crane Festival, celebrated each November. Amid alpine vegetation and coniferous forests, the country's iconic Dzong fortress monasteries rise almost magically. These architectural landmarks define Bhutanese identity. Built in 1637, Punakha Dzong stands at the confluence of the Po-chu and Mo-chu rivers, symbolizing the union of positive forces and territorial cohesion. Its 6-story palace houses impressive Buddhist murals, ceremonial halls, and sacred relics, including the remains of Zhabdrung Ngawang Namgyal. At the entrance to Paro, the striking Paro Dzong, also known as Rinpung Dzong, stands on a strategic hilltop, dominating the surrounding valley and serving as the stage for the Paro Chechu festival. Its prominent watchtower and enclosing walls frame a wide courtyard, architecture that expresses power, protection, and devotion. In the heart of the country, in the Bumthang district, lies Jakar Dzong, also known as Yuelai Namgyal Dzong. Perched on a promontory high above the historic town, this Castle of the White Bird was founded in the mid-16th century. It spans over 1,500 meters, 4,900 feet, in perimeter, and holds temples, ceremonial halls, and symbolic significance linked to Bhutan's victory over Tibetan invaders. The Trongsa Dzong, the largest and most majestic of all, stretches across a hilltop that plunges toward the Mangdechu River, marking Bhutan's strategic center. Built in the 17th century by Zhabdrung Ngawang Namgyal, its labyrinth of courtyards and passageways connects around 25 internal temples, all aligned with the Drukpa Kagyu tradition. But for pilgrims and travelers, no place is more mystical than Paro Taksang or the Tiger's Nest, dramatically clinging to a cliff at 3,120 meters, over 10,000 feet above sea level. Founded in 1692 on the site where Padmasambhava is said to have meditated, this sacred complex is a living symbol of Vajrayana Buddhism. Every room, corridor, and prayer flag tells a sacred story. On a hilltop in Thimphu, the Buddha Dordenma rises, one of the largest seated Buddha statues in the world. Standing about 52 meters tall, 170 feet, it is made of bronze and gilded in gold. Inside, it houses an astonishing 125,000 smaller Buddha statues, each measuring between 20 and 30 centimeters, 8 to 12 inches. Construction began in 2006 and was completed in 2015 atop the ruins of the old Quetzal Phodrang Palace, built to honor the 60th birthday of King Jigme Singye Wangchuck and fulfill prophecies of ancient spiritual masters. The statue is surrounded by the Quetzal Phodrang Nature Park, a protected forest with trails and meditation areas, blending naturally into the sacred landscape. Beyond the Dzongs, smaller temples full of mysticism dot the countryside. In Paro, the Kyichulakang is considered one of Bhutan's oldest Buddhist shrines, built in the 7th century to subdue a local demon and prepare the way for the future Tiger's Nest Temple. Near Punakha lies Chimilakang, or the Temple of Fertility. Here, phallic blessings and fertility rituals for couples wishing to conceive affirm the celebration and continuity of life. This harmony between nature and architecture reveals ancient wisdom. Dzongs are built without blueprints, guided instead by spiritual visions and oral tradition. preserving artisanal techniques in woodwork, masonry, and sacred murals. Every tilted roof and window is designed to blend with the landscape, creating structures that seem to grow from the mountain itself. As one walks along the trails that connect terraces, valleys, and ancestral knowledge, the landscape reveals a place where religion echoes in the rocks. Water caresses monastery walls, and every stone carries a lesson. In this land of sacred ground and scholarly landmarks, architecture doesn't just serve humans. It is the physical expression of an eternal bond between people, the divine, and the environment. Bhutanese cuisine is simple yet vibrant, deeply tied to the people's identity. It reveals ancient traditions, hillside gardens, and a careful balance between flavor and meaning. Here, food isn't just sustenance, it's celebration, ritual, and connection to the land. The base of almost every meal is rice, often served with sides rich in chilies, the ever-present ingredient of Bhutanese cooking. But the dish that defines the country's flavor is ema dachi, literally chili and cheese. It's a stew made from local chilies, often spicy even on their own, and generous chunks of yak cheese. The contrast is intense. The chili's heat meets the creamy softness of the cheese, creating a dish that's comforting and deeply aromatic. Less known, but just as iconic, is kewa dachi, where cheese is combined with potatoes grown in Bhutan's valleys. Another popular version, dachi with greens, features spinach, cabbage, or wild herbs in the creamy sauce. In remote villages, wild greens harvested on the same day lend an almost untamed freshness to the dishes. In the mountains, it's common to eat momos, delicious steamed dumplings filled with yak meat, pork, or vegetables, served with a mildly spicy dipping sauce. Their delicate, thin wrappers bring lightness to these warm, hearty meals, perfect for the cold climate. Another highlight is suja, a tea made with yak butter, salt, and sometimes a hint of aromatic herbs. It's comforting, energy-rich, and salty, shared by families around the table or even on the floor during breakfast. Suja is also offered at religious festivals and ceremonies as a sign of hospitality and spiritual clarity. Chang, a traditional fermented drink made from barley or rice, sometimes with added corn, accompanies celebrations and special occasions. Slightly alcoholic and fruity or citrusy in taste, it's shared in cups often decorated with auspicious symbols. In certain regions, there's the curious zudo, a yak cheese paste mixed with chilies and sun-dried into strips. It's a flavorful snack ideal for long treks in the mountains, efficient, nutritious, and shelf-stable. More than food, each dish carries stories of family and tradition. Elaborate meals are often prepared collectively. People cook, chat, sing, and share blessings around the fire. Among customs, one stands out, serving elders first as a sign of respect, and leaving a small portion, often the heart of the dish, as an offering to ancestors and deities, reinforcing the link between nourishment and spirituality. Even as Bhutan adapts to modern times, its food stays rooted. In Thimphu, contemporary restaurants reinterpret ema dachi, and monks serve vegetarian versions for international guests. But even in these settings, local red rice, grown in high-altitude flooded fields, is served with reverence. Every grain carries the cold of mountain nights and the warmth of the community that harvested it. The result is a cuisine that reflects the mountains themselves, rare and ancient, yet pulsing with warmth, hospitality, and meaning. It's food born from the soul, meant to be shared, helping us understand a people who eat with just as much heart as hunger. In a world that moves faster each day, where progress often outruns meaning, Bhutan remains a living reminder that it's possible to grow without losing one's soul. Here, happiness is not measured in numbers, but in balance. The mountains hold wisdom, the temples breathe stories, and even silence seems to have a voice. The country isn't perfect. It faces challenges, transitions, and modern dilemmas. But its courage to walk its own path, honoring nature, nurturing faith, and preserving tradition, inspires a deep question. What truly matters? Maybe the answer lies in the arrows slicing through the air during dance rituals, in children walking among prayer flags, and in monks meditating to the sound of the wind. Or maybe it's in every gaze that refuses to live life on autopilot. If Bhutan is closed off, it's not out of arrogance, but out of choice. A choice to protect what is essential. And maybe, by peeking through that crack, we too can rediscover what we've lost. Enjoyed the journey? Then subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video. Here, you travel with us to explore cultures, history, and wonders that defy the ordinary. See you next time.